Loser point? Is that the loser point noise? Utah Hockey Club picks up a loser point. They get swept this season by the Florida Panthers, but find a way to get their first ever goal in the history of the franchise in the state of Florida. So congratulations for that history-making moment to Sean Dursey tonight. Welcome to After the Buzzer. My name is Keith Schertz. I run things here at Hive State Hockey and host After the Buzzer. After almost every single game, we had to take a little break. Fortunately, we missed the Tampa Bay game, which was a blessing to be sure. 8-0, ugly, ugly, ugly. 2-1, the result tonight between Utah and the Florida Panthers. If this is your first time here, welcome. I hope you enjoy your stay. Please participate, be involved in the chat. Give us the thumbs up in the little thumbs up thing, and subscribe to us. A little bit about myself: I have been a lifelong hockey fan, and used to be the play-by-play voice for the Brigham Young University hockey team, and also for Utah Valley University Wolverines, the skating Wolverines. Snicked. Okay, well, it was a game, was it not? And it is a tale as old as time. This story's been told many times in this country. Not as familiar to people here in Utah, but if you're from the eastern seaboard, it's absolutely the case that you are familiar with this story. The story goes like this. You go to Florida to die. And that is what the Utah Hockey Club has done to this season's playoff dreams. They went to Florida and they died. So, I think officially out. We've been saying they were out with like 30 games left, but officially, it's not like officially official, but they're out. They're not getting into the playoffs this time, so that's the way it goes. Oh, by the way, if you are a returning friend here, like our friend Scott, who I see in the chat, Scotty, welcome back. I congratulate you on your exceedingly fine choice. Thank you for hanging out with us here after the buzzer. Let's talk a little Utah Hockey Club. Scotty, yeah, I didn't do a show last night. I got tied into a couple other things that I couldn't get out of, and needed to take care of business on that. So, unfortunately, wasn't able to cover the game. Although, and I did rewatch it, even though I knew the result. I got to watch the 8-0 slaughter anyhow, and so that's how that went. Hey, so okay, let's talk about tonight's game for just a second. Sam Bennett, 2 goals tonight for the for the Florida Panthers. Sam Bennett, obviously terrific player. That's a player that a Utah Hockey Club could really use, a player that plays like Sam Bennett. That would be really helpful to this group. Tonight, Veggie, bounce back game. He had like 3 or 4 really bad games in a row. March has been a particularly bad month for Veggie as a goalkeeper anyhow. We covered that during our last live, but one of the things that we had seen, I don't know what his number was tonight, but in terms of goal saves against expected, he was 28th out of the 32 goalies in the NHL coming into the game tonight. That may have improved slightly, but he's certainly in the bottom tier of the league. For the month of March. This is after being in the top tier of the league at different points of the season too. So up and down times for Karel Vejmelka, but tonight was a really good game for him. The .938 save percentage, stopping 30 of the shots, just giving up a power play goal to Sam Bennett, and then obviously the 3-on-3 overtime winner to Sam Bennett. So tough one tonight. Not because it was anything we didn't expect. Utah Hockey Club was on the back-to-back of their on this road trip of the Florida swing, and doing the Tampa Bay Miami back to back in recent years has been murder for everybody. To come away with a single point would normally be a win, would be considered good, but because it's down the stretch and they needed every single point down the stretch here, that's kind of the thing. With 15 games left, we said they needed to go 10-5. And since that point, now that they have 9 games remaining on the old sheet, 9 games remaining. So in the last 6 games, they've gone 2-4. So I suppose if they still find a way to go 8-1, we can be back in the mix of it. They have not had a stretch of that kind of winning at any other time this season. And, so anyway, we'll move on. We're not going to even talk about the scoreboard watching part of it, although Vancouver was in a slugfest tonight, I noticed, against the Columbus Blue Jackets. And, I said we weren't going to do it, but I'll just do it quick. Looks like the Blue Jackets just took the lead in the shootout. So anyway, Vancouver at the very least is going to get another point. So we make up no ground on Vancouver tonight either. So that is absolutely the case of where they are right now. It's just, I want to talk for a second. I put together a couple things for us to kind of take a look at so that we can talk a little bit about this team. How it goes. Hey, Car Wash, good to see you. Sorry, just got a chance to take a look at it. Need to win the last 9 remaining games for the very little chance to get in the wild card. Yeah, that's right. I was looking at moneypuck.com. We are now underneath 1 percentage point chance of getting in to the playoffs. We have the same chance, nearly, as Lloyd Christmas. At the end of Dumb and Dumber. So that's where we are as it relates to that. Okay. Let me take just a couple things. Yeah, last game before today sucked. Yeah, 8-0. No question. Let's just take a look at the scoring drought for a second for Utah Hockey Club. So they had a goal drought. It's the longest goal drought that they've had all season long. Of course, the worst timing possible for the goal drought. The previous goal was scored in the first few minutes of the game against the Detroit Red Wings. And then they didn't score in the second or third period. Obviously got shut out against Tampa Bay. Did not score in the first and second period. So there was a 2-hour, 38-minute, and 19-second goal drought that was that was broken finally by Sean Durzee's goal in the third period tonight. And you should notice there the 5-on-5 drought. Again, the best way to determine kind of the health of a hockey team is how they perform when it's on 5-on-5. This season, Utah Hockey Club has been incredibly, incredibly reliant on the power play. And when the power play has been good, they've been good. And when obviously the power play has dipped, it's not gone very well. Which brings us into the next thing. So, by the way, you could watch for that goal drought. That's longer than the movie The Dark Knight. That's a long movie. And the 5-on-5 goal drought is still on. The last time they scored 5-on-5 was against the Tampa Bay Lightning at home at the beginning of the third period when Nick Schmaltz scored off a very nice pass. Very nice pass. Anyway, so that's where we are as it relates to the scoring drought. So they've picked the absolute worst time of the season to have their longest goal drought. And as it relates to 5-on-5, getting a goal at 5-on-5, they have now played 3 complete games without a goal in 5-on-5. So haven't been able to get a goal at even strength in the last 3 games. Not exactly what you're dialing up when you need to make a playoff push, but there we are. Let's talk about power plays. So power play, the power play for the Utah Hockey Club has been such a crucial piece. It's the biggest thing that Dylan Guenther needs to do to improve his game. He's a terrific power play player. He's such a weapon on that left wing in the power play. However, he is not as effective as a hockey player when they are in 5-on-5. That being said, here they are. They've gone 45 for 204 this season on the power play. They had a really bad stretch on the power play there, as you can see, in the month of November. It was not going very well. They had kind of one idea for what they were going to do, which was just setting up one-timers to Dylan Guenther. And it looks like they're in another lull where, for whatever reason, the set that they have, what they're doing, is just not scoring right now. And a big reason for that, as I got looking at it, at least in March, it looks like they're just not getting very many pucks to the net. Of all teams in the month of March, Utah Hockey Club has ranked 29th out of the 32 teams in terms of shots on goal on the power play. So they're getting to the power play at a pretty reasonable rate. They get to the power play like the 10th most in the month of March. So they're drawing penalties. They're getting opportunities, but they are just not getting pucks on net when they're there. But only 5 power play goals. They do have the game at Chicago on Sunday, so there will be one more chance to maybe improve that number. But it's rough out there. 14.7% on the power play for the month. Now, something that'll make you feel a little better. Our worst month is still better than the Philadelphia Flyers, Anaheim Ducks, and New York Islanders power play for the entire season. So that's something to, I guess, be excited about, be happy about. So that's kind of the story there as it relates to how things are going down the stretch. They're just not finding ways to have an effective power play, and that has led to the lack of goals that they're scoring. And beyond that, they're just not doing enough at 5-on-5 to give themselves a chance to really push down the stretch here. So that is an important story to tell as it relates to the Utah Hockey Club late in this season, and as they deal with this playoff push and what they needed to try to go out and accomplish. It's just going to turn out in a way where they're unable to make that playoff push because they're not going to do enough to put themselves in a position to make it. So. Oh well, right? Oh well. It sucks, but there you go. So another loser point for Utah Hockey Club. They've worked their way to 76 wins on the season. Before the season began, I made a prediction of all 82 games. It's a long video. It's actually on the YouTube here. And the prediction I made at the beginning of the year was that they would be at 77 points after the game tonight against Florida. They are at 76. So that's pretty close. I predicted they would get to 87 points on the entire year. And again, I want to emphasize that, obviously it's Florida. Like, these are the Stanley Cup champions. They're defending it this year. So this is an excellent, excellent team. They've been into the Cup final 2 years in a row. A year before that, they had the best record in the NHL, won the President's Trophy before blowing it in the first round. But this has been, for the last 3 years, one of the elite hockey teams in the National Hockey League. So it's not necessarily the case that it's a surprise to lose in this circumstance. It's just, I don't know if they're all gassed or whatever, but it didn't feel like there was, and again, it's Florida, so it's really hard, but it just didn't feel like there was real jump there. And I don't know if that's youth. I don't know if it's their legs are dead. I don't know. I really don't know. The other issue, of course, is on a back-to-back, so that can happen. You can look a little slow, little lethargic on a back-to-back. And then beyond that, Florida, it was an interesting thing because Florida had not played since last Sunday. So they had 4 full days off. It's one of the biggest rest advantages that any team enjoyed over another team this entire season for the entire NHL. So the deck was quite stacked against Utah from getting anything tonight. So in that aspect, they were able to come away with a loser point. And you would really feel like that's a win. But again, the 8-0 loss followed up by kind of a 1-goal performance against Florida really puts you in a tough spot. Beyond that, now they got to go play the Chicago Blackhawks, who are in full tank mode. But at the same time, it'll be the third game in 4 nights. Chicago is going to have a 2-day rest advantage over Utah. That is going to be a tough spot for the Utah Hockey Club. So there's that. Scotty, I'm going to come up to your note from before because I never acknowledged it, and I'd like to. They could have won that one when they had the power play late. I would thought they would score. Yeah. Tonight, they went 0 for 4 on the power play. To win games against the best teams in the NHL, like you have to take advantage of the opportunities. And the thing is Florida gives away a lot of opportunities, right? Like they commit a lot of penalties because they play so rough and tumble. They're good at killing penalties. It's not like they're a bad penalty killing team. But when you get the shot at it, you have to make them pay. You just have to. And if you don't make them pay, they beat you. And so that's just the way this is, and that's the way that that's the way it turns out. But Florida, man, they've got so many weapons. Just the guys that it's like they didn't even have Matthew Tkachuk tonight, and like they're this good. Like it really felt like they kind of coasted in some ways. I felt like Florida was just kind of. I wonder if we can win this game being in third gear. And it turned out that they were able to. So they have like 3 more gears, right, to go into. If they're an F1 car, they are an F1 car because they are. So yeah, maybe there's 10 gears to go to or whatever. But the point is that it seemed like they wanted to see if they could coast their way. They were busy like figuring each other out. It was Brad Marchand's first game with the Panthers. Like it was one of those games where you saw sort of the expertise, the elite quality of this team shine through, and that experience that they have. This is them and what they do, and they're able to rack up wins and know how to bring it just enough to go out and get wins with only being in third gear, whereas Utah, and kind of pounce on a Utah team who they didn't really need to kick it up into high gear to take care of business tonight. Because they had a rest advantage because Utah's in a weird place emotionally, because Veggie is tired and played like a warrior tonight and really did a great job saving lots of pucks. But Florida was just kind of driving to the net. They weren't doing, they weren't forechecking like demons. They weren't doing the typical Florida stuff tonight, is what I'm trying to say. Is that when we see Florida in a month and they're playing in the Eastern Conference playoffs, like it won't look the way it looked tonight. So there we go. Hey, Scotty, thank you for the advice in the chat there. More thumbs up, help fans find the show. The other thing that I should do, and I need to get better at this, is it's just a lot of work. It's not that I don't mind work, right? But it's just I do want to try to make more of my short form content. I need to make some YouTube shorts and just regular YouTube videos that kind of chronicle what's going on with the team. We're going to be doing more of that. I think it's something that I'd like to try to do to get more people hanging out with us and make the chat a little more fun. But I really, really, really appreciate both Car Wash, Scott, and Sparky when he's around. It's great that you guys show up and support this. It's fun to do. It's fun to get to know you guys and talk a little hockey with you. Yeah, it's going to be really difficult for Utah to make it, especially because they I just their power play is kind of in the worst form it's been all season long. Um, and then beyond that, they've had they just got done with their longest goal drought, but um, it's now been 3 games without an even strength goal, or I guess a 5-on-5 goal. Um, so they are not playing their best hockey, and they need to be playing their best hockey here at the end of the year. And it feels to me like it's kind of an interesting question to think about as it relates to Andre Tourigny and what he's trying to accomplish with the group. I'm a little confused because after the game last night, Stauber gets hurt. Oli Mata's hurt now. They're, officially, I'll get to the standings here. Let's just take a look. How many points back are they right now? So, yeah, they're 9 points back from St. Louis, though they have a game in hand. So, okay, even if they win that game against Chicago, it means they're 7 points back. So it means they need St. Louis to really melt down here. And St. Louis just doesn't lose any games at all. They are wild right now. 8 games left for St. Louis. They are not finding ways to lose at all. Their goal differential is starting to get kind of crazy. They're plus 16 on the season. They're right there with the Toronto Maple Leafs with their goal differential, or Edmonton Oilers. So they might jump ahead of the Minnesota Wild at this point. So it's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. So yeah, no, they're effectively out of it. They have to go undefeated, and then even that may not be enough now, right? Because if Utah goes undefeated the rest of the way, I initially thought that 91 would be the number, but then St. Louis got really, really hot. And is playing the best hockey of any team in the NHL down the stretch here. And so with them being as hot as they are, it's just really, really, really difficult to see where that will shake out. St. Louis at Colorado, yeah, for heaven's sakes, if they win at Colorado, then they got Detroit at home, Pittsburgh at home, Colorado back at home. Even if they split with Colorado, at Winnipeg, at Edmonton, at Seattle, and then Utah to finish out the season. Their top total points right now is 101. And even if they, over their last 8 games, if they go 3, 4, and 1, they finish with 92 points on the season. And so, again, my target was for Utah to try to get to 91. So even if they go below 500 to close out the year, we're not going to catch St. Louis. So, yeah. And the reason, I think, to get to 91 for Utah now that they sit at 76, yeah, they need to get they need to get 15 of their next. They need to get 15 of their final 18 points. And again, that's not a form that they've had at all at any other point of the season. So, okay. So the question then now is, I think you can pretty reasonably say they got a chance to try their hand at some meaningful games and kind of be in the playoff hunt. They obviously wanted to be closer than this so that they weren't out with 10 games left, 9 games left, but they're out. And so the question is that then it's successful in the sense that they had a chance to play some meaningful games and play kind of high pressure games, but it's not successful because they lost those games. It seemed like they were really ready to roll and played great for the game at Vancouver that had that high energy. but then just have not been able to maintain sort of the form that they had in that game on the road at Vancouver. And so, in a lot of ways, that win that they enjoyed at Vancouver, that's going to be the high point of the season as it relates to the overall picture, maybe the opening game of the year. Those two games are probably going to go down as the two biggest games of the season. So yeah, so I mean, it's disappointing. It's too bad that they are in this spot, but now with 9 games left, the question is like, do you move down a little bit in the tank so that maybe if the ping pong balls or whatever smile on you, you might be able to move up in the lottery. That would be cool. Or do you take a look at in this scenario, it's like you brought up Yamamoto, but Yamamoto's an established NHL player with over 300 games in the NHL. You can only bring up 4 players after the deadline, and so it'll be interesting to see how that goes as it relates to bringing players up, because they have. I would need to go back and look at it, but they bring up Matt Villalta. He was brought up now. He's now the backup goalie. Jackson Stauber was brought up. Kailer Yamamoto was brought up. And then the question is the one I'm wondering is that thing where they waived Valimaki, and then Valimaki cleared waivers and then was technically down in the AHL, and then he got hurt, right? We never called him back up. They need to just do it. Like, let's see what Villalta can give us. They've got to play him. Veggie at this time, like, man. They say there's no rest for the wicked. Like, what did that guy do? I saw they talked about it, actually. He started so many games in a row. It actually made a note on 32 Thoughts with Elliot Friedman. If you listen to that podcast, it's great. But they mentioned it's the longest consecutive game starting streak since 2019. So, that's a lot of games in a row. Longest starting streak since Darcy Kemper had 22 straight games for the Kings in 2019. And it didn't go well for Darcy Kemper during that stretch. So they probably should rest Veggie. I don't know what you're getting by continuing to play him. Beyond that, like, I don't know, like, if he's tired, like, in some ways, like, emotionally, are they taking some of their cues from Veggie? Beyond that, we also know that we're probably not going to see Oli Mata next game because he was injured tonight. And so the good thing is that Mata was not created or destroyed. It was just transformed. The conservation of mass in action tonight. But yeah, Oli Mata is not going to be in against Chicago, which means that they're probably going to use Robert Bortuzzo in that spot, and so we'll see how that goes. The other question is like, I think they played. No, that's if a player's in juniors, right? So they could potentially call up Maverick Lamoureux. I don't know if they're going to do that and have him get a look down the stretch here. And so the other one is the healthy scratch again for Matthias Michelli. And I know that he wasn't playing very well, but he had a couple of games where he looked okay, and now he's out of the lineup again in favor of Yamamoto. And the thing is like, I guess they're trying to figure out if they'd be better served given all the minutes that they gave this season to Michelli, to Yamamoto. But again, like Michelli's a third-year player. So are we bringing along the kids? are we bringing along the kids, or are we busy trying to figure out, how to have a Stanley Cup championship team right now? And if we think that Yamamoto is part of that, then I think we are on another planet. We're just not even close to be thinking about making a playoff run. If we're like, oh well, maybe we should give those third line minutes or fourth line minutes to Yamamoto. That's just not that's not going to be the thing that makes the difference for this team. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think they'll probably just go with Bortuzzo. I think they're going to wait to be mathematically eliminated, which is going to be another 4 or 5 games before you see some really funky stuff. But if it were me, I think I would look pretty seriously at we're going to play Michelli. We're going to make sure we're getting him in to the lineup. I would look at calling up Lamoureux and letting him play instead of Robert Bortuzzo, and giving you more opportunities to kind of see him and what he can give you at this point. I think, Villalta is a great idea to see if he's something. We're talking about a player who, for the Tucson Roadrunners, was a AHL All-Star, who I believe last season led the AHL in wins. So, he's a solid, goaltender, and shared a lot more of his minutes this season with Stauber. And obviously they prefer what Jackson Stauber is, and I know Villalta is not necessarily as young, but, I don't know, do we feel confident Connor Ingram is going to be back and be fine next year? I don't, So they've got to find a second goalie, and let's just see. So I wouldn't necessarily just play Villalta against Chicago, right? I would take a look at seeing him in 4 or 5 of these final 9 games, because let's find out what Matt Villalta is. Right? That's the whole point. We're out of the playoff hunt, effectively. And so why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we do this at this point? That to me is the obvious thing. It's the obvious thing at this point is stop thinking that you're just going to go straight undefeated. If you want to lose the one more game, you can, I guess, and then you can do it in full, whether that's against Chicago or Calgary or Los Angeles. That's fine. But the bigger thing is I don't at this point now. You got a chance for the young kids to play in meaningful games. It happened. They lost those meaningful games. So now what are we learning? And what are we doing to build for the future? And to me, that looks like Maverick Lamoureux. That looks like Villalta. That looks like Michelli. It looks like, I think that's what that's got to look like. And we'll see. We'll see what we have, right? So, and I guess if it's, Yamamoto, that's fine. They may not, I would need to go look at, just to be clear, they may not be able to bring up Maverick Lamoureux because, again, you can only call up 4 players after the trade deadline. So I don't know if they've done that or not. I know that they've called up 3, but with goalies, with the injuries and, the injury to Ingram, the injury to Stauber, there's a very good chance that maybe neither of those call-ups would be technically enforced. So if I were Bill Armstrong, I'd have my team on the line with the league and doing what they can to try to figure out how to get more call-ups available so that we can see more of the kids and see what they have. Is Artem Duda a thing? Right? He's been solid. He was good in the preseason games, and maybe there's something there. Who knows? So, okay. Yeah, so that's it. Effectively tonight, Utah Hockey Club, they followed the lead of many other elderly people. They went down to Florida, with their season, and it retired and died off. So they get outscored 10-1 in their 2 games in Florida this season. They get swept by the Florida Panthers for the season. They do score a goal in Florida. I was wondering if they were actually going to score a goal in Florida, if we'd have to wait till year 2 for that. But they did get one, thanks to Sean Dursey, which was a very good goal. He did a great job, and Barrett Hayton in particular. The setup on that was really great. So I think that's kind of where we are at this point. I don't know that there's a whole lot else to say other than, Utah at this point. The question is like, how do you manage the rest of the season? Do you pull it all together, or do you pull it all together, or do you go youth movement, and if you lose, it's okay because you potentially can move up more in the draft, and beyond that, it gives you a chance to see what the young guys give you in an NHL game. Scotty, thank you for that question. I think at one point we got up to 8 or 9 after a game. So that's how many we've pulled in. I should probably begin the process of figuring out those things. Yeah, I think that's my understanding is that during Tampa Bay he got hurt, which is why Villalta was brought up. So that's the story of Jackson Stauber. All right, that's it for tonight's show. We'll leave it there. Utah falls in overtime. They lose 2-1 to the Florida Panthers on the strength of 2 Sam Bennett goals, including a game-winning goal in overtime. Karel Vejmelka, despite being tired and having some bad performances more recently, he had a great bounce-back game, so that's the encouraging thing. Now, if the players in front of him can find a way to generate goals, because their power play not looking great in March. Their goal drought ended at 2 hours, 38 minutes, and 19 seconds. The Dark Knight is just barely shorter than that. And their 5-on-5 drought continues 3 hours, 18 minutes, 50 seconds. It's been over 3 games. So those are the things we're thinking about tonight. That is it for this edition of After the Buzzer on Hive State Hockey. If you've enjoyed it, give us the thumbs up below and tell your friends about the show. A little subscribe action is certainly one of the things that we love to see. And we will see you on Sunday when the Utah Hockey Club takes on the Chicago Blackhawks. And we'll see. Maybe Matt Villalta will be in the net. I think he absolutely should be. So there we go. All right. Have a good night. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you real soon. Take care of yourself. We'll see you real soon.